Hello, Steve White, Steve Arts 89 here. Well, we've got some good news on the Star Trek front, or on the Star Trek film front at least. Apparently, the Quentin Tarantino Star Trek film, if you can call a Star Trek film by Quentin Tarantino Star Trek, is on the back burner for him and might not happen. Probably won't happen. Hopefully, it won't happen. I hope it doesn't happen. Basically, I saw an interview with Trek Core. I did an interview with someone, and they asked about his rule about sticking to just doing 10 films, which I think is stupid, but good, as long as he's gone. He said, yeah, that's the idea. They said, is Star Trek going to be part of that? He said, I think I'm steering away from Star Trek, but I haven't had an official conversation with those guys yet. In a strange way, it seems like the last movie, this movie, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, would be my last. So I've kind of taken the pressure off myself to make that last big Viola kind of statement. They asked, is there a genre you've been starving for? He said, no, I know nothing. I'll tell you in a second. Not that it's going, not what's going to be, but why I don't know. But one of the things that it has done, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, is that it has made me feel like I've made my big statement on Hollywood, and that there is an accumulation of a career, accumulation of my interests, accumulation of my filmography. If the idea of all the films are a boxcar and it's the last train, they're all telling a story, well, this is the climax, so I can actually see now my 10th movie probably being a little smaller. And they said like an epilogue, so yeah, he's basically thinking of doing a smaller film, like an author's note, to end off his career, and he's certainly not going to jump into a big tentpole science fiction expensive blockbuster movie, which I think would probably be one of the most expensive films he's made, or most complicated films he's made. So it looks like this is not the direction he wants to go in, and I'm so glad, because it's the wrong direction. He's the absolute worst wrong person ever who could have been put in charge of a Star Trek movie, or the idea of making a Star Trek movie. So I'm really glad he's not doing it. I can't think of anything else. I'm just so grateful to hear that he's not pushing it, because he was the only one pushing it for a while. While he was on the press tour for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, people were asking about it, and he'd bring it up, and he was talking about doing it, but he was the only one talking about it, because basically, as far as I understand, the contract that Bad Robot had with Paramount has lapsed because they didn't make another film, and although they have an option of making a film with them, I think they kind of have to be invited by Paramount, or they get the first offer, but Paramount doesn't have to take up a new film with them. And from what I've heard, the new Paramount CBS, which have now combined again, they're really not interested in any new Trek in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek. They're not really happy with what they did with Star Trek. The lady's in charge now, I've forgotten her name. She sort of saw Star Trek as one of the crown jewels in Paramount's crown, and she really wants to bring it back to what it was before, and that means going away from the JJ version, which may have made a lot of money for Bad Robot, because they were paid to make the films. They were contracted, basically. They got paid to make the films. Whether they made money or not didn't matter. That affected Paramount more than them. They got part of it, but it really was just a money-making scheme for them. Just buy the license temporarily, get the license, make movies, make money on it, make merchandise, make money on that, have their own merchandise that they create, that they put out, and that they make money on. And that hasn't really worked out. The films weren't hugely profitable. They declined in profit, and they didn't do well in merchandise, because Star Trek fans basically rejected it on the whole, and the general audience didn't really suddenly become new Star Trek fans. The audience for Star Trek is kind of set, kind of like Star Wars. You have to treat those fans well, and know that you may get the general audience in for the big events and the movies and that, but they're not going to stay around and buy the calendars and the special edition DVDs and stuff like that. That's what the fans do, and they alienated the fans. They have been doing it for a while, so the Star Wars fans. That's why they're sort of a bit scared about Rise of Skywalker coming up at the moment, because the projections are down. The sales aren't as big as they wanted, blah blah blah, but that's a whole other video. But Star Trek, same boat. Now, they are looking to make a new Star Trek film. They do want to make it happen. Paramount does, and so does JJ, because they had a good deal there. They took the license, ruined it, and made money out of it, and they don't really care if they drive it into the ground because they're getting paid to do it. So that's why they apparently suggested the new Star Trek film that has been just suggested for Star Trek 4, because they want to get the contract active again with Paramount, but I don't think Paramount wants to jump back in bed with them, which is why they haven't jumped on it. And all the press recently about Star Trek 4 was from Bad Robot, apparently. So hopefully Paramount has its own ideas, and they're going to go back to more traditional Star Trek and maybe spend a little bit less money on it and focus more on the story and the character and make it more of a Star Trek story like the other films, which they had success with. But either way, I don't think it's going to be manned by Quentin Tarantino, so I'm very happy about that, because he was the absolute wrong choice. He was going to freaking just go hard in the wrong direction, and everyone knew it. And I don't know where they get this idea that going after the like anti-Star Trek audience, they're trying to make a Star Trek film for people who don't like Star Trek, for the general audience, for everyone else, was the best plan for Star Trek, and they need to just get away from that. And I think this is hopefully the first sign of that. So I'm just going to leave it there, feeling very optimistic that it's not going to happen. And that's it. Thanks for listening. Feel free to like, share, subscribe, comment. Comments are good. Thanks. Bye.